How's it going, guys? MMA Professor here to do my UFC 129 St-Pierre Shields predictions taking place this Saturday. I still haven't done all my picks, so for the first time in a while, I won't be going off my MMA Playground account, and I didn't even look at them because I did make some picks on there. I'm going to go off the top of my head. Yep, so keep in mind that my picks on my MMA Playground account, which I have more time to think about, are going to be completely different from these picks. Maybe they'll match up, maybe they won't. I don't remember. Here we go. Preliminary card. And we're going to get to see all the fights, by the way, which is stellar. So here we go. Preliminary card on Facebook, all of them. First fight, Pablo Garza against Yves Dubois. Yves Dubois, very flashy striker. Tends to gas out a little bit. He could be good on the ground in the gym. His wrestling is not very good. His takedown defense is okay. Submissions, not so much. He got swept by Mark Hominick in a fairly simplistic sweep that he probably shouldn't have gotten swept by and kept top position. But anyways, Pablo Garza got choked out by Qin Zhang pretty easily. And then he knocked out Fred St-Pierre cold. But let's look at it this way. Fred St-Pierre is like 4'11", and Pablo Garza is 6'2". So knocking him out with a knee, you could see it happening. I'm going to pick Yves Dubois in this one. I'm going to assume he can use his explosive striking, I guess you could call it, creative striking, and hurt Garza early, make him tentative of coming in. And Yves Dubois gets Yves Dubois may win the first 2 rounds and then lose the third. He may finish him in the first 2, but I think it's more likely that Dubois is going to win this fight than Garza. Talked about it too long. Yves Dubois, second round TKO. John Makdessi against Kyle Watson. Tough fight to pick. Don't know much about Makdessi. He doesn't seem to have very good power in his strikes. He's fairly technical. Some taekwondo moves. You know, a lot of spinning back kicks. Similar to Dubois. I don't know how good he is on the ground, and we're going to find out because Kyle Watson's a pretty decent wrestler, and he is a jiu-jitsu coach at the Hit Squad. Not that that says much, but I think Kyle Watson, his striking is just not there, and Makdessi, again, might convince him to not come so close to him to try and take him down. I don't know. If Watson gets to the ground, we get to see how good Makdessi's on the ground, because like I said, we don't know. But what we do know is that Watson's stand-up is not good. So I'm going to pick John Makdessi, unanimous decision. I think he just outstrikes Watson, keeps it on the feet. And then here's another interesting point, though. Makdessi is pretty short, and it's weird that he's a good striker because he doesn't have a lot of good reach, but shorter to the ground, easier to defend takedowns. Boom, Makdessi, UD. Jason McDonald against Ryan Jensen, the only fight in the card that I don't really care about, hence why I'm just going to pick Ryan Jensen. McDonald's coming off a long layoff. Can he win this fight? Yes. Jensen's fairly good wrestler. I mean, he's fought some very tough guys in the UFC. Again, McDonald, long layoff. Jensen's a better striker. Ryan Jensen, split decision. Ivan Menjivar against Charlie Valencia. Love this matchup. In a perfect world, Valencia would be fighting at 125. Ivan Menjivar, for, as young as he is, I mean, he's only like 29, 30 years old. He's fought a bunch. Fighting since like 2000 or 2001. He was George St-Pierre's first opponent, and it was a weird stoppage. That fight shouldn't have been stopped. And yes, Menjivar fought at 170, and he's now fighting at 135. Menjivar's a good guy. I mean, he's fairly good on the ground. He does like to stand and bang. His fight with Brad Pickett was a very entertaining one, back and forth. I'm going to pick Ivan Menjivar in this by decision, Valencia is tough to finish. He's very well rounded. He's probably has the better wrestling than Menjivar. I think they're fairly equal on the ground. Stand up again. I think this is going to be a war back and forth. Could be fight of the night. Very good scrap here. But again, I'm going to take Menjivar by unanimous decision. Claude Patrick against Daniel Roberts. Another good fight. Another one of those that's very difficult to pick. Claude Patrick uses his athleticism fairly well. Decent wrestling. His striking, not slightly better than Roberts. Both guys are not very good in the stand-up, so we'll see either one, a sloppy stand-up battle, or two, an amazing ground war, which we're hoping for. Daniel Roberts, very good on the ground, trains at Caesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Claude Patrick trains up at TriStar in Canada. Like I said, Claude Patrick, the wrestling is probably fairly close. Claude Patrick has the reach, I believe. He's also got, I don't know. I mean, this fight is going to be very interesting. Back and forth, I think, on the ground. Some interesting scrambles. And, again, one of those where who knows which way this fight is going to go. I'm going to go with Claude Patrick by unanimous decision. I think he'll be on top. He'll get top control a lot more than Roberts will. Roberts very willing to go on his back because he's very good off his back. And like I said, Patrick has the better stand-up, so he'll get the better of him there and control where this fight takes place. So Claude Patrick, unanimous decision. Maybe split. It's going to be a close fight. Preliminary card, Spike TV. Jake Ellenberger taking this fight on short notice against Sean Pearson. Pearson, again, trains at TriStar with George St-Pierre. Jake Ellenberger, I think it was an anomaly. The Hosha fight, or Roca, Eduardo Roca. It proved that he could overcome adversity on the ground against an amazing black belt. Condit had him in some rough spots too on the ground. He's very good at scrambling. He's the better striker by far. Heavier hands by far. Better wrestler in this one by far. Jake Ellenberger, first round TKO. Pearson has been knocked out before. I'm not saying he's not a good fighter. I mean, it was a good fight with Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle doesn't have near the striking or any of the tools that Jake Ellenberger does. Ellenberger hasn't had amazing performances the last two fights. It's time for him to break through and become one of the contenders for the welterweight title, like I think he can be. Jake Ellenberger impresses with a knockout. Nate Diaz against Rory McDonald. I don't know. Tough fight to pick. Rory McDonald, you can see how Rory McDonald could do to Diaz what he did to Carlos Condit, because Diaz's wrestling is invisible. It doesn't exist. And it kind of exists. His stand-ups, Rory McDonald is okay. Diaz is the better boxer. He's probably got the better cardio. McDonald gassed hard after taking down Condit for 2 rounds, which is surprising because if you're controlling where the fight takes place, you should not gas that badly because you're controlling the fight. And Diaz is very slick with his submissions, and McDonald I don't think is at that level. So I could see Diaz pulling off a sub. I could see Rory McDonald take him down, controlling him, using ground and pound, stalling him out. Who knows? I think what's going to dictate this fight is not the wrestling, jiu-jitsu. Can Nate take it down? Can McDonald hold him down and stay out of subs? I think it's going to be the striking battle. Who's able to implement their style of striking better than the other one. And I believe that's who the winner is going to be. This is a tough fight for McDonald, especially coming off of the fight he did against one of the better welterweights in the world, in Carlos Condit. And I'm going to go with Nate Diaz here by 3rd round submission. Diaz, I see it being a very close fight. Diaz, his body shots adding up over time, and McDonald tiring out from, takedowns in the ground battle. Of course, Diaz can go all day. He can go 10 rounds if need be. But I think he's going to catch him in the third. McDonald getting sloppy with something. He's young. He'll make mistakes. And Diaz's experience will pull him out in this one. And so, Nate Diaz, submission. Main card. Mark Bocek against Ben Henderson. Interesting fight. I think Ben Henderson has a clearly better striking here. Bocek's boxing is improving every time, but he's really a wrestler, jiu-jitsu guy. Almost a straight jiu-jitsu guy. Henderson is more athletic. My only trepidation in picking Henderson in this one is that he gives up position a lot. And yeah, Cerrone couldn't submit him. And yeah, Pettis couldn't submit him. But we're talking a different level in Mark Bocek. And if he gets a hold of something, he is going to finish this fight. Nobody's unchokeable. Nobody is, impervious to your arm snapping in half. Nobody. And if he gives up position and makes that one mistake, which he has been prone to, this fight could end very quickly. That said, I think Henderson can keep this fight where he wants, and I think he's going to keep it on the feet. Use leg kicks to a minimum, but use them. Use his boxing. Take down Bocek where he wants, when he wants, towards the end of the rounds, and fight a smart fight. Keep top position. Avoid stupid mistakes. And walk away with a unanimous decision. That said, he makes one mistake and gives up position in a scramble, this fight could end very quickly. So keep that in mind. But Ben Henderson. Randy Couture against Lyoto Machida. No, fuck that. We're going to talk about the Jason Brills fight first, because that shouldn't be on the main card. They should be on the preliminary. Rory McDonald, Jake Ellenberger, whoever should be up on the main card. It's BS. Jason Brills fight Amir Machichenko. Machichenko, good fight for Brills, I guess. Machichenko up there in age. Machichenko looked pretty good in his last fight. Obviously got destroyed by John Jones, but who didn't see that coming? Jason Brills, unorthodox striking, but effective. Good wrestling. Good submissions. Not just straight jiu-jitsu, but kind of catch wrestling kind of thing. And I'm picking Brills in this one just by him being the younger, slightly more power in his hands, and that's basically all there is to it. Jason Brills, unanimous decision. Randy Couture against Lyoto Machida. Before I say anything, I just want to say, it's almost become parody to say, don't ever count out Randy Couture. Don't ever count him out, because you count him out and then he has all these epic wins. Nobody expected him to beat Tim Sylvia. Nobody expected him to beat Chuck Liddell. He's come back multiple times. He's won all these titles. Great. Lovely, lovely man. Lovely human being. Captain America. Boom. He's going to lose this fight. He got dropped multiple times by Nogueira, who isn't known for his punching power. He looked terrible against Brandon Vera. Brandon Vera, who was afraid to throw the trigger and back straight up and let Randy push him into the cage. Didn't use angles. Looked terrible in that fight. And Randy Couture, I believe, still lost that fight. Lyoto Machida is a different type of animal. His boxing isn't that good, but he controls distance well. He uses angles. He's way quicker than anybody that Randy's fought ever. He mixes it up. Punches, body shots, leg kicks. And he's good on the ground. I think, Couture, his hope of, coming forward and pushing him against the cage and dirty boxing him and trying to take him down from the clinch, that game plan's done, man. It's been done. You can't do it to Machida. It's not going to be done. Machida's, I think, is going to be too fast for him, leg kick him. Randy's going to come forward. Lyoto Machida is going to land either a kick to the body or a knee to the body, a la Brandon Vera. Drop Couture and finish it on the ground with TKO. Lyoto Machida, second round TKO. Randy Couture, it's been real. Jose Aldo against Mark Hominick. Some people complaining about this fight. Some people think it's going to be fireworks on the feet because it's an interesting style clash of Mark Hominick's, technical striking against Jose Aldo just using his extreme athleticism and quickness to outstrike people instead of technique. But I think it is technique too. Probably not as crisp as Hominick's, especially his boxing style. But, I like it. I mean, who else were you going to give Jose Aldo? I mean, really, who else is there to fight him right now? Eric Koch is coming up the ladder. Coming up. Pretty close. So, Mark Hominick, like I said, even though I believe this is a good matchup, it might pose some interesting problems for Jose Aldo. We've never seen Jose Aldo hit before. Hominick's got decent power in his hands. As I watch Hominick's, fights, he's a very good kickboxer. But his problem seems to be, in the Jabouin fight as well, he gets kicked a lot. He doesn't check a lot of leg kicks. And that's going to be a problem. And I think, and Aldo's better on the ground too. Hominick's not going to, see the problem in this one is, if Hominick's not getting the better of the stand-up, which I don't think he will, he has no recourse. He can't shoot for a takedown. He's not going to take down Aldo. And even if he does, what is he going to do there? Aldo's way better than him on the ground. So, I think Aldo's going to land a couple leg kicks. Look for it. Look to counter off. Throw a leg kick. Look to see what Hominick does and counter off of that. And aside from Hominick landing a hot one early in the fight and then Aldo not being able to recover and Hominick finishing early, Jose Aldo's going to take this by third round TKO. I think the leg kicks are going to start to add up. Hominick's not going to have any power in his lead leg. And Jose Aldo's going to take advantage of that and finish him off with strikes on the ground. Possibly a knee. Possibly a knee that puts him down. Knee or leg kick that puts him down. But he finishes it on the ground with punches. So, Jose Aldo, second round TKO. George St-Pierre against Jake Shields. Alright. About, 3 years ago, on all the message boards talking about UFC's got to get Jake Shields. Jake Shields needs to go to the UFC. It's George St-Pierre's only contender. It's George St-Pierre's biggest test. Jake Shields, Jake Shields, Jake Shields. That's all you saw. That's all you heard. And now it's happening. And now people are thinking he doesn't have a chance. Man, Primetime does a great job of making it look like people have such a better chance than they actually do. But even this one was not believable. Jake Shields is a good fighter. Probably one of the better fighters in the world at 170. No, definitely is. But he's not going to win this fight. Everybody knows he's not going to win this fight. And again, it's become so silly to say, oh, everybody's counting him out. But everybody always counts him out. Henderson, he was supposed to lose to. Yes, okay, we get it. He has a chance. He's got good jiu-jitsu. But it's not like hitting the ground with Shields equals automatic loss. It's like, oh, you hit the ground. It's like one of those old video games or like a simulation where you're like, oh, if so, then so. It's not like, automatically going to happen. Mayhem Miller almost submitted him. He didn't submit Mayhem Miller. He didn't submit Dan Henderson. They were on the ground the whole time. He took Henderson down at will, couldn't submit him. Submitted Paul Daly. Yeah, took him into the second round in order to do it. He submitted people quickly. Yes. But most of the time, he's going to use his positioning to win fights and win decisions. He can finish fights, yes. If he gets in a mount, yes, George St-Pierre is in a lot of trouble. Not going to happen. Actually, I forget who did the article, but I retweeted it. Somebody did a great article about how, the UFC seems to have to promote, huge title fights as, this other guy has, it's going to be such an epic battle. This guy's so good, and this guy's so good, and when they clash, it's going to be freaking monstrous. It's going to be the best of all time. Instead of promoting GSP as, like, the best in the world, and you have this guy down here, like, oh, I'm trying to attain that. I'm trying to take down the monster in GSP. Maybe it's GSP's personality that he's like, oh, this is the greatest, this is the greatest challenge of my life, or whatever. Maybe. Maybe that's why they don't promote him like that, but they should, because be like, hey, guess what? This is the best fighter in the world, right here. One of the best fighters in the world. But they don't. What's going to happen? If I were to guess, I would say it's going to look like the John Fitch fight, where John Fitch couldn't do anything, couldn't take him down, couldn't outstrike him, and Jake Shields, his striking is god-awful. Yes, he's never been hit a lot, but he's never been in there with a guy as accurate a striker as George St-Pierre is. He's going to jab him. He's going to hit him with right crosses. He's going to hit him with lead left hooks. He's going to leg kick him. He's going to knee him. And he's going to batter him, possibly for 5 rounds. Jake Shields maybe have a moment where he gets inside on a takedown and, he's able to almost get it. Maybe he'll get a takedown. Maybe. Good for you. Those emotional wins. The emotional wins. Not as good as actual wins. So, George St-Pierre going to beat up Jake Shields for 5 rounds. It may be highly entertaining. We'll see what happens. Maybe George St-Pierre's work with Freddie Roach has increased his punching power. I mean, could happen. He's learned to actually throw his hip into it. Maybe he takes some more chances. Maybe he tries to finish it. Maybe he beats up Shields so bad. Shields gassed hard in his last fight against Martin Kamen, another guy who he didn't sub and had his back and blah, blah, blah. So, there you go. Those are my picks. UFC 129. Going to be an awesome card. You guys stay metal. Later.